If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. And this week, I want to talk about how to build an incubator culture. How do you build a culture of ideas? How do you build a company that is all about enabling people to risk, giving people empowerment to try, and celebrating failure? Because if we don't fail, we don't learn. If we don't learn, we don't succeed. And there's too many companies out there that are way too risk adverse. They are sitting there going, we can't afford it. We can't afford the time. We can't afford the money. We can't afford the reputational risk. We can't afford, the regulatory bodies coming down our throat. We can't afford the lawyers. We can't afford the risk management department. There's 1,000 reasons why companies are risk adverse. And I get them all. I get them all. But the problem is when you become a risk adverse culture, you become a commodity. And when you become a commodity, you are a low cost, low value organization. You're easily replaced and soon forgotten. Mm-hmm. The companies that continue to innovate, the companies that continue to stretch beyond and to sit there and say, okay, what's next, are the companies that become the great American, Canadian, worldwide organizations of our lifetime and enable us to look forward. And, and I'm going to get into it. It says, what happens when you become too big, and take a look at building a subculture that's innovative, but we can get in there. But Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Oh, as we've done this before on our brains, which is, to me, it's how do you facilitate a culture of innovation that gives empowerment to the employees to actually want to be innovative, to want to be creative. And I mean, when you said that, I was just kind of like, so many companies talk a big game. So
Mm-hmm.
many companies, will create departments for the purpose of having an intrapreneur, right? They want to build up their own folks, but the truth of the matter is the reality is how serious is it to support? Sometimes I feel like sometimes they placate us to believe that they think they want, but at the same time, the good companies are the ones that will take it and really nurture, because that's not, I don't want to call it free labor. It's like you don't have to hunt down the right people to help improve your company. They're right there.
They're
Your
right
people are
there.
right there. Like it's like
Absolutely.
fuel.
Yeah.
So
Well, I look
that's
at it as this way. It says you look at companies like Google. I don't know if Google still does this, but they used to do it. It was free thinking Friday or whatever it was, where one day a week they were allowed to work on a project. I think it was Google. Somebody's going to have to fact check me on this. Where one day a week they were allowed, or one day every 2 weeks, they were allowed to have a Friday where they were able to work on a pet project. Now, the question is, how far is leadership going to get behind this? If do they once a month or once every 6 months or whatever get together, look at these projects and go, oh my God, that was incredible. Let's roll this out to the entire country. Or wait a second, this is something that's commercially viable. Give this person a viable stake in be enable them to be a leader in running that new division or that new project, and be able to put actual human capital leadership and C-suite weight behind the project. There's one thing about saying go out there and innovate. The other thing is, once that innovation happens, what happens within the company? Does it get shelved? Does it get put on, does it get put in a dusty drawer somewhere? Or do they actually take the time to sit there and say, you know what, let's test this. Let's actually test this, and let's actually run a viable 6 month test on a prototype on a minimal viable product and sit there and say, wait a second, can we do something with this? And if it is, the team or the person or whoever that innovated and brought this thing to the table should get a big piece of the pie on that. They
Hmm.
shouldn't just get, by the way, here's $2,000. We own the patent of this thing. Go back to your job and we're going to make all the profits on it. No, that they should actually be given, some type of credit, some type of, shares in the company, stake in the new venture, whatever it is, to be able to make it run. We need as companies to sit there and say, if we are going to empower our people, we need to have them feel that they feel empowered. Do they actually feel that they matter? Do they actually feel that the work they're doing is going somewhere, or is it just placating? Okay, go play for 6 weeks. Go, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're going to allow you guys to go innovate, but we're not going to do anything with it.
Okay, so it reminds me what you just said, reminds me of, I think it was Volvo.
Hmm.
I think we've talked about this before, where it was for one of the car shows. They had all the women meet up in the car, not all the women, but they obviously handpicked women or women volunteers, designed a car
Right.
based on their needs. And it was fascinating because there were some really interesting things that they had, right? Like they lowered it because, you don't want to be climbing it to like load up the kids and all that stuff. They had swizzled chairs, I guess, or they had, stuffs for their food. Like they reutilized the center console and all that stuff. Um, it was really fascinating. It was a great concept car. And I don't know if they put any of it to practice
Right. Or even tested it.
or even tested it. I mean, and the crazier part to me is that like so much of the car purchasing experience does have this female spouse, partner, whatever, is a large part of the decision making, especially for like the family styled cars, right? The
Yeah.
minivans and all that stuff. So I do think it's fascinating that yes, they knew it was going to be a car pie in the sky thing, but you would think they would have taken a couple of the concepts and applied it. And they may
Oh,
have. They may have. I don't know about it, but I just remember thinking about it. Well, that's a lot of money and time that and I'm sure they're all volunteers, right? Or here's the other counter. Okay, the skeptic, see it. Where's my tinfoil? Where's my tinfoil? Maybe I don't want to be innovative for my company because you know what? They're going to steal my idea. There's something on that. Like, okay, wait, you know what? I am not of the scientific world. I know my dad did patents and whatnot when he was at Hughes and Rockwell. So
right.
it's under their company patent, but my father was, part of, one of the
Sure.
key
Yeah.
people part of it. I mean, who's to say you might come up with a brilliant idea, but the company's like, rah, rah, rah.
Well, perfect example. I won't mention who. Somebody, those the certain company, they went and did a patent thing based on somebody I know. Came up with an idea. They came up with a patent. He got $5,000 or $10,000. He got his name on the patent, but the company made from that point forward. The company made all the money.
Oh,
And but that was part of his employment contract. The employment contract was they own
yeah.
all the property rights. It's just like in universities. You do all the R&D at the universities, and the university owns half the patent. And makes half the profit. That's their attitude is, well, why do we you think we employ you and give these really funky labs to play in? You think we do it out of the kindness of our own heart?
Yeah,
We
it's
do
not for
it.
the kind. No,
Yeah,
exactly.
we do it because we know we're going to make 50 cents on every dollar that you figure out on a commercial basis. So, but it's a matter of sitting there going, how do you couch it in a way that still incentivizes people to still want to move forward? Where they sit there and say, okay, right, these people are taking the risk. They own the company. They're taking the
Hmm.
risk. They're coming up with the capital. They've got the marketing budget, they've got the sales team, they've got all these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they should make the lion's share of the money. But I'm the one who came up with this. There
Mm-hmm.
should be a nice big slice of pie in this for me as well. And whether, you're willing to take a bigger piece of the pie up front and just say, okay, here's an upfront fee. After that, the company owns everything, or just do it on a regular, on an ongoing basis. That's up to you as a person. But you as an individual need to be incentivized in such a way that makes you want to go out and do it again. Because
Right.
if you do it once and you never want to do it again, the company has just blown any reason to have innovative people in the company. And that's the trick, is to get people not to innovate once, but to be, serial innovators.
Right. I guess ultimately it always comes back to like, employee satisfaction
Yes.
ultimately, right? Like, it's I don't even know in this day and age is if getting paid well enough is enough compensation for people to want to innovate. I mean, or maybe because I've just become jaded. Maybe I'm jaded people. So maybe, don't come at me and ask me about things because I just feel like most people work jobs for the sake of getting through with a paycheck, and I hate to say it, not really living life to the fullest, right? Because you're opting for compensation versus soul satisfaction, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's a flip side. People going for soul satisfaction, and they're not making jack squat, right?
Hmm.
So it could be argued for that, but for companies that are really looking for fostering that next innovative rush in their company or just to maintain their competitive edge, really have to slow down and appreciate your force. And I'm talking about all experiences. You can have someone that brings up a genius idea that's, day one or day at,
Pay a
10,000,
thousand, whatever. Yeah.
right? And yeah, it's unfortunate. We're in an age where society does covet the youth, right? So perhaps there might be organizations that will celebrate, you know, think tanks, right? And there are tech companies that do have amazing think tanks, right? And who
Yes.
knows what those skunk work people do all day long? They're like way out there. But even some simple ideas, I think could still be. I think simple little ideas. It could be maybe a you know once a month meeting within the team to talk about any new ideas. Nope. Okay, we'll move on to something else, right?
Yeah.
Or throw out ideas, right? Or you know, I don't know. It's almost like, what it is now. Now I'm really going down this path. Okay. It is how do we maintain curiosity in the workplace?
And that's essentially it. I mean, people want to feel listened to, understood, and valued. They
Right.
want they want to be valued in the workplace, and nobody wants to be feel stifled in the workplace. Nobody wants to feel pigeonholed, stuck in a cubicle with that is just being told do more, do faster. People want to sit there and say, what, people want to be asked, what do you think? Here's what we're trying to do. Find me an innovative way of doing that. And the more we can foster that, here's where we're going. It's up to you how we get there. And be able to foster people to be able to come up with these, out of the box, weird, strange ideas that some of them are going to work and some of them are not going to work. But what they might do is they might get you closer to that brilliant breakthrough.
Yeah.
And I think that as leaders, we need to be able to foster those people and be able to put the loose reins on people to sit there and say, okay, I may have to tug you left, I may have to tug you right, and I may have to pull back on the reins every once in a while because you may be running so far and so fast that nobody can keep up with you. But for the most part, it's loose reins and just let them go. And sit there and say, within the parameters, here's your budget, here's your timeline, here's the scope of the project, show me something incredible. And I think if we did that, we'd have first of all, we'd have far more innovative companies. We'd have far longer tenure with companies because let's face it, the Generation Z goes into a company, they work until they feel that they're not valued anymore. And as soon as they feel they're not valued, or if they feel they're stagnated or whatever else, they go looking for another company where they can go do something else, especially people in the IT world. People
Yes.
in the IT world sit there and say, okay, I don't want to maintain this database. I want to build this database. And when I'm finished building this database, I want to build another database or I want to build something else and let some other poor schmuck be the one who enjoys maintaining databases. Let them have that joy. But you have to sit there and say, what brings you joy as an employee? And where is your zone of genius? And where are the things that excite you on a regular basis? And what are the special skills that you have that I haven't got a clue about? And when leaders can start asking those type of questions, we can unbridle these thoroughbreds and just let them run.
I know we have to land this ship here,
Yes.
but you just gave me a thought in general though too about, there is a very real reality. Is that I don't is that even a term? Anyway, but there's a realness of we know there's going to be some automation coming down the pike if it hasn't already happened
Already
for a
there.
lot of different roles, right? And I think having that mindset to still be curious to see what's next or what's out there, to still be innovative, be open-minded to the things that are out there because as we automate, there's always going to be a gap emerging somewhere else. And
Hmm.
so I would strongly encourage anyone, if you are in that situation, it might behoove you to actually be part of those teams as well now because you're now part of the conversation too.
Right.
So it's not a question of if AI is going to affect your job, it's when and how does it. We'll want you step up and be part of those conversations, whether it be in the skunk works or if it's in a weekly checkpoint meeting, something that you provide value at, I think really is going to be helpful. And in return, you feel valued if the opinions are taken. And if I was a business leader, I would absolutely take those notes because there is no magic button, automation button pill that we can take, right? That's going to make everything run perfectly as a business. So
Exactly.
that's it. That's my 20-second tirade.
All right. So let's leave it there. I'm Ben,
I'm Syya. I wouldn't want to be ya.
and we'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at IamBenBaker.com or me at BrilliantBeeMedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. See you next week for another episode of Not On This Business Bites.